SMIE Consulting Midweek Roundup, coming to you from Three Gorges Dam area. And in case you're wondering, that's it behind me in the distance. We're on a little bit of a cruise now. That's one of our new partner universities at UNLV, at Wuhan University, has arranged for us. The professor who's with us today is one of his former students, is the CEO of the Three Gorges Dam project, and has been gracious enough to arrange this visit for us, touring the facilities, visiting the dam earlier today. But the roundup today for Friday, June 23rd is more about what's the nature of Chinese travel these days, giving folks an update on those that are interested in coming to China, what the lay of the land is like. This trip for me is a partnership trip. So I started in Hong Kong as an entry point into mainland China, did a presentation, came into China to meet up with my provost and one of our business professors from China, who's here for the summer, and we've arranged through his help partnership visits with several universities, 4 universities here in China, Sun Yat-sen University in Guangzhou, Wuhan University, and Wuhan Science and Technology University in Wuhan, and then off to Beijing on Sunday evening for meetings at Beijing Normal University, the Ministry of Education, and also with CCIEE and SU to talk about one-to-one programs that will be starting at UNLV in the next year or so. So this is not a straight recruitment trip, so it's a little bit different, but I'm happy to share just what travel's like in China these days. It has changed quite a bit since the last time I was here, which was 15 years ago, so it has been a minute. Back then it was still paper money is widely accepted. Now paper money is hardly accepted anywhere. And in fact, to buy anything these days, you have to have Alipay or WeChat Pay already set up on your phones. And if you're using Alipay, you need to get that set up long before you come to China. Link up your bank account and debit card. You can't link up and pay with a U.S. credit card. It has to be a debit card linked to a bank account. That's the only way to pay for things really here in China. That's outside of hotels where you might be able to get away with using credit card. That's in the major cities, at least. Credit card for paying for your hotel room, that type of thing. We arranged as much as we could to be prepaid, since I'm traveling with the provost, his wife, and our professor from the business school. So we're really tried to get as much done as possible in advance, but it would really be recommended if you have someone on the ground here in China to make the arrangements for you, particularly if you're traveling with folks that you want to be sure they're taken care of well. Obviously, with the provost on board, we need to make sure we're delivering the level of service that we need to make sure he's comfortable, and his first time traveling to China. So particularly important to make that good first impression and get as many of the details right as possible. So a lot of pressure on us to get it sorted and make sure everything's up and running. But travel within China, everything is digital now. You don't need paper copies of tickets, and in fact, in some places you don't have them at all. Everybody in China has their national ID cards, and they use those. You have to scan those first when you enter a train station to get into the departure area, then to get into the gate to the boarding area for your train. We've taken trains from Guangzhou to Wuhan. I took a train from Hong Kong to Guangzhou, and it is, oh my goodness, it is the smoothest travel imaginable for the distances that it's covered in the time that it did. Made it from Hong Kong to Guangzhou in about an hour with a stop in Shenzhen. Very smooth ride from Guangzhou to Wuhan. We made it in 4 hours, and it was at speeds reaching 186 miles an hour, at top speed 300 kilometers an hour, so pretty significant there, like NASCAR racing, as one of my friends commented. But in terms of the travel itself, I certainly recommend the trains. The high-speed rail network is connected all up and down the coast now. You can go from Hong Kong to Beijing on high-speed rail. It'll take a while. Obviously, it's a big country, especially north to south, or south to north, where you'll be doing the majority of your visits. But we found the ease of travel outside of, yes, because we're U.S. passport holders, we can't scan our passports like where people with ID cards scan theirs. We have to go to special gates, especially for lugging big luggage through the airports or through the train stations. You definitely need to have that. What I found is one thing that has remained consistent is it is still fairly reasonably inexpensive to eat here in Beijing, or here in China. Certainly I've seen that everywhere in terms of the prices within the restaurants that we've gone to, even at some of the higher end places where we've had dinners with some of our partner universities. So really seeing a lot that still points to China being a very reasonable place and price-wise to travel. Right now the big challenge is air prices getting to China, and for Americans there's been a lot. The war in Ukraine has complicated that, because in the past flying over the poles to China was the route that most American flights could take, but right now there aren't, outside of, I don't think I've seen any American Airlines reestablish direct flights to China yet. My provost flew from Los Angeles to Guangzhou direct, but it was on China Southern Airlines. I don't think any of the others, that was a 15-hour flight, so I don't think any of the others are flying direct into China yet. But if they are, the prices are super expensive just because they don't have the supply yet. The demand's there, but the supply is not, so you're going to pay a pretty penny right now. The hope is that by the end of the summer, the number of flights available will come down, and it'll be more cost-effective to come back to China. Because this is an important delegation visit for us to establish a base of successful partnerships that we can build on in China. It was really important for us to get back here now, and having a professor on the ground from China who's here over the summer anyway to kind of spearhead a lot of the institutional arrangements. We just needed to focus on the travel arrangements. So it's been a very interesting first week or so here in China. We arrived here in Wuhan, well, first in Wuhan, and took another train out to Yangtze, where was our base last night and tonight, and then we'll go back to Wuhan tomorrow morning for institutional visits at two different universities there. We're doing that because yesterday and today is a national holiday, the Dragon Boat Festival. So we've had our sticky rice in the last couple of days, both savory and sour, or savory and sweet, excuse me. Thank you to our hosts for being exceptionally kind and gracious with their hospitality over the last few days. For us, it's been a very good return for me to China personally, and certainly able to get my feet back under me. And after we've sorted out all the payment issues that we needed to, how things are going to get paid for, and just even little things like buying bottled water at the airport or at the train station, you got to have Alipay or WeChat Pay to already set up and functioning before you'll be able to use it. So been able to use it successfully so far. So we're getting all our I's dotted and T's crossed, so that next time, kind of iron out all the problems now, so that next time we come, and looks like we'll be back in China probably 2 times a year, particularly with joining ASKU for participation in the one-to-one programs that Sufei Li has been organizing for ASKU with their Chinese counterpart CCIEE for 20 years now. Sufei and I have known each other since I was at Ball State in Indiana doing the one-to-one programs. Was my initial reasons for coming to China twice a year for 5 years in a row in the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s. So great to be back in China. And I have to say that I have seen nary a Westerner since we were in Guangzhou, coming to Wuhan. Now certainly not Yangtze, since it's a third or fourth tier city. So we are, all the locals are looking at us and just, whoa, what's that? All the little kids are coming up to our provost's wife and wanting their picture taken with her. It's really been a very pleasant trip, and certainly the hospitality has been great. Ease of travel, is fine, and if you take the right steps to prepare with WeChat or Alipay, WeChat Pay or Alipay, excuse me, they are travel is a relatively smooth and seamless one, other than having to show your passport when you even getting onto this cruise in the Three Gorges Dam area. We just had to show our passports to get on. So good thing we all brought them. But it's been a very, very useful trip so far, and by next week we'll be in Beijing having this conversation, and hopefully have more to share on how our program is developing there. But until next time, thanks all for joining us, and we look forward